Good evening and welcome to Portmore Field here at Bernlohr Stadium. Tonight, it's Capital versus Mount Union in a battle between two of the better teams here in the conference. In fact, the top two teams in the conference entering today, as Capital was 3-0-1 and Mount Union at 3-1. So, a battle at the top of the OAC. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Jimmy Bloomfield, and once again, thanks for tuning in. Capital coming off a big-time win against Muskingum on the road. Always one that Muskingum game usually goes in the favor of Capital in recent years, and no different on the October 12th, 2022 matchup between these two teams. 4 goals scored by Capital in the game. Nicole Ogden, Avery Hart, Catherine Zigaro, and Grace Estes all scoring in that one. 3 goals in the first and 1 in the second half for good measure for the Comets. And they currently, again, control their own destiny to first place in the OAC. Mount Union is always one of those kind of tougher games. These teams have linked up quite a bit here at Bernlohr in recent years. Always seem to draw them at one point of the semis or quarterfinals of the OAC tournament. And these are the top 2 offenses in the OAC tonight. Kind of the big story going into this one. Madison Pepper and Andrea Decker, 2 players on the other side for the Purple Raiders. Each have 9 goals this season, tied for second in the conference, while Avery Hart ranks 5th with her 6 goals. And as a team in conference play, Mount Union has scored 3.25 goals per game. Capital has scored 2.5, even with some tough opponents. And again, those are the top 2 marks in the OAC. So, we may see a lot of goals here tonight. But Capital also has another weapon in net in Liv Alford, who's playing out of her mind right now. The freshman has the number 1 save percentage in the OAC. She's also second in GAA, and the freshman has kind of won this job in the net for Capital, and it's hard to fight why with the numbers that she's put up this season. Another shutout against Muskingum. She already has 2 shutouts in OAC play. She was great against Wilmington last Wednesday night when we saw her. Tied Ohio Northern a 2-2 game there, and that was Lauren White in net for that one as opposed to Alford. So the last 2 games she's been in net, she's had a shutout, and she also played in the Otterbein game was Lauren White as well. So instead of rotating back and forth as they've done the last 2 games, White played against Otterbein and Ohio Northern. Alford played against Wilmington and Muskingum. Tonight, Coach Ogden decides to go with the freshman Alford in net and kind of break that pattern. So it's a very interesting decision, and we'll see if it pays off for Coach or if he decides to go back to White at some point. Kind of speculated on that on Wednesday's game as well, and we just don't know how this rotation looks. And right now, Alford, with the way she's played, has put herself in that conversation. Lauren White, for what it's worth, still qualifies as well among the leaders in conference play. She's number 5 in GAA, and she's number 4 in saves percentage. So 2 of the top 5 goalies, statistically and probably qualitatively, are on this Capital sideline. It's a 1A, it's a 1B situation. We'll see how it sorts its way through the OAC season as Capital looks to remain unbeaten in conference play and take home a conference championship. Both teams are making their way towards midfield here shortly as the captains are doing the coin flip right now. Madeline Woodruff down there for Capital with 3 captains on the other side for Mount Union. And we'll have soccer here in just a little bit. Let's get to our starters. I'll announce them here, and then we'll put them over the game mic as well. I like to kind of get that ambience going. For Mount Union, their starters are Haley Caruso, Emily Beach, Logan Godfrey, Madison Pepper, Tegan Johnston, Lauren Bailey, Andrea Decker, Lauren Francisconi, and Addison Jones, Olivia McLean, and in net Michelle Hofbaker, the freshman out of Akron. So 2 freshmen in net tonight. We already mentioned Liv Alford is in net for Capital. Abby English, Madeline Woodruff, Lexi Snyder, Nicole Ogden, Avery Hart, Haley Moore, Taylor Markham, Sophia Leonetti, Francesca Langano, and Grace Estes round out the starting 11 for the Comets tonight. We'll kick it down to the field here in just a moment. Stay with us, and we'll have first kick here in about 5 minutes from Bernlohr Stadium. We'll be right back.
And now let's meet the starting lineups for tonight's match. First for the visitors. Number 2, Hallie Caruso. Number 5, Emily Beach. Number 6, Logan Godfrey. Number 7, Madison Pepper. Number 12, Tegan Johnson. Number 14, Lauren Bailey. Number 22, Andrea Decker. Number 24, Lauren Francisconi. Number 25, Addison Jones. Number 27, Olivia McLean. And in goal, number 42, Michelle Hoffaker. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Capital University Comets. At defense, a sophomore from Columbus, number 4, Abby English. At midfield, a senior from Hilliard, number 8, Madeline Woodruff. At forward, a junior from Canal Winchester, number 11, Lexi Snyder. At midfield, a sophomore from Dublin, number 12, Nicole Ogden. At forward, a senior from Pickerington, number 15, Avery Hart. At defense, a junior from Pickerington, number 16, Haley Moore. At forward, a freshman from Gahanna, number 23, Taylor Markham. At midfield, a junior from Westerville, number 25, Sophia Leonetti. At forward, a sophomore from Mayfield, number 27, Francesca Longano. At forward, a sophomore from West Liberty, number 29, Grace Estes. And in goal for the Comets, a freshman from Dublin, number 0, Liv Alford. The Comets are led by Matt Ogden in his 8th season. He's assisted by Megan Wharton and Giovanni Salinas. It is now time to honor America. We invite you to rise and remove your caps for the playing of our national anthem.
And welcome back to Bernlohr Field here at Bernlohr Stadium. We are about ready to get things started here tonight. Mount Union in the black uniforms, Capital in the home white uniforms. We went through the starters. Alfred versus Hofager in net, which is fun. That's two freshmen going at it. Alfred out of Dublin, Ohio. Meanwhile, Hofager's out of Akron, Ohio. Copley High School, to be exact. Kind of two local-ish products to their respective colleges. Probably paths have not crossed, but will cross a lot over the next few years here in OAC play. This will be a fun one tonight. I mentioned it's the top two offenses in the conference. That's based on a sample of about half of the OAC games so far. Those are in-conference games only. If you go to all games overall, which is, again, skewed based on the level of opponent you're playing, Mount Union is still number one at 2.64 goals per game. Capital ranks fourth at 1.82 goals per game. But that number has increased as conference play has gone on. Mount Union to 3.25. Capital to 2.5. Statistically, you would think we're going to see a few goals in this game. Alfred has not given up a goal in her career in OAC play. Granted, that's only 2 games, but 2 shutouts. So that'll be the main story of this one. Will Mount Union's offense be the story, or will Alfred be able to keep them at bay enough so that this Capital attack can do their job offensively? It's been a good one lately. Avery Hart with 6 goals leading the way for the Comets. She's 5th in the conference, and she will start things up by passing it all the way back to the top of your screen. And we will go to work. Markham on the outside, down here on our side. Snyder at the top. In the back, it's Haley Moore and Abby English. Defensive midfield, Sophia Leonetti and Nicole Ogden. Offensive midfield, Madeline Woodruff. At the top, you have Longano, Estes, and Hart. It's the alignment today. English will kick it upfield. A good ball out in front of Markham, who's stayed in the starting lineup. We're hopeful that Aaliyah Berletic will be back at some point here for Capital. Still haven't seen her back in the lineup since early in the season. And originally she had been replaced a lot by Elle Pelletier. And Pelletier doesn't get the nod today. Markham, who's been in the score column this season, gets the start instead on this side of the field. Lexi Snyder, of course, back in the lineup. So Capital getting more and more healthy. And all we're waiting on now is a healthy Aaliyah Berletic. Mount Union, normally known as more of a defensive team on the women's soccer side of things, but they have actually turned that around this season with Hannah Brown as the head coach over for the Purple Raiders, and they've turned kind of into an offensive firepower now, which is interesting. Change in dynamic there. Coach Ogden, of course, in his 8th year leading this team. He has some conference titles to his credit, and this game, like I said, is kind of a rivalry game. Almost on the women's basketball side of things, too, it's kind of a rivalry. Obviously, it doesn't compare to the Otterbein game. Nothing does. But these two teams are kind of in that discussion. We seem to play the Purple Raiders a lot in recent years on the men's side and women's side, especially in OAC play in the postseason tournament. These teams have matched up quite a bit, and they kind of have some chippy basketball games too. And, of course, the women's lacrosse team has been battling with Mount Union at the top of the conference. They finally overcame them this past season, crossed behind the net here, so a goal kick coming. So this rivalry between these two schools kind of extends into other sports, and it's kind of one of the more underrated rivalries in the conference, I would say. You have your regional ones, of course, like Capital and Otterbein, John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace, etc. But this one's kind of just grown from close competition in a lot of different sports. Nice pass up the field to Woodruff. We're in the game's 4th minute now. Avery Hart will dribble it in. Tried to shoot a pass through to Longano, and it did not make it there. Taken back now by Woodruff. Passed into the corner. And kicked out of bounds by Mount Union to set up the defense. Good slide tackle in the corner of your screen there. Mount Union dribbles it out of bounds, though, so they get a little bit extra real estate in front of their net, but not much more. Thrown in now towards Longano. She tries to center it. Woodruff back to Longano. Passed it all the way back to Markham now on the outside. Markham dribbles it in. Good ball to Longano, just a little bit too far. Really good offensive pressure to start the game here from Capital. Goal kick coming. It'll be taken by Hoffaker. And Hoffaker sends it upfield. Doesn't get a lot of air on it. Couple of headers. Leonetti with the last one. Ogden kicks it forward, and Estes has it. Estes too far out in front of Woodruff. Kicked off of Woodruff's back. A trip here on Leonetti, and a free kick for the Purple Raiders. On the free kick, it's won by Ogden. Played forward to Estes. Estes to Longano. Longano keeps it in play. No numbers here for Mount Union. Nice moves, though, from Longano. She crosses it over, trying to find Estes on the weak side. Ogden there to control. Pass forward, give and go with Woodruff. It finds Estes, and it squeaks through to the net. Hoffaker's there. Punted upfield, a lot of power behind that one. Leonetti controls first for Cap. Hart trying to work with Estes. Drop down at midfield. A lot of good pressure from the Comets so far. Capital will settle it down with their defense now at midfield. English. Too far out in front of Logano, but Markham's there. Come on, Markham on the inside, trying to move there. Gets it to Hart, and kicked out of bounds. Markham will throw it in now. Thrown in. Logano turns her head with Hart, and the two of them trying to link up. It's kicked away from Hart, though. 7 minutes have gone by, no score in this one, no shots registered for either team yet. Capital's been the better team in the first 7 minutes here. Cap goes all the way back to their defense now. They'll try the high end of the field. Haley Moore to Estes, and that one's taken away from her. And now on the counter, English will be there to shut that down, and they'll go all the way back to the keeper, Alford. Alford sends it up the far sideline again. Haley Moore walks it forward, and a long ball upfield to Avery Hart, taken away from her. Up the far side of the field, Avery Hart has it in the box, lost it. Estes there to back it up. Now she loses it. Leonetti trying to keep the pressure up here. To the near side of the field. Mount Union doesn't really have anything developing at all. Beach looking for some help. And now played up the near sideline to McLean. Thrown out of, it's kicked out of bounds, so we'll throw in for Mount Union. Markham thought it was a throw in for Cap. Kicked out of bounds, this time off of Mount Union. And Capital thought it was off Mount Union that time, so it's kind of a funny thing there. A lot of activity on the near sideline now, but not a whole lot going on in terms of generating any offense here for Mount Union. They have two players tied for second with 9 goals this season. Andrea Decker, number 22, one to look out for, and number 7, Madison Pepper, the other to look out for. She's the reigning player of the week in OAC play. Ogden trying to contest here. This one goes past everybody, trying to get it out in front of Andrea Decker there. And Alford will scoop it up. Markham plays it back. Doesn't play it back to English. Nice fake, actually. And now Markham looks behind her. She's being hounded defensively by McLean and is able to get it to Woodruff, who helps out. And Woodruff plays it all the way back to Haley Moore. Moore brings it upfield, and we'll go to the top of your screen to Lexi Snyder. Snyder drops it back for Moore again. And now Moore plays it back to English. 34-20 to play first half action. No score, no shots. And both teams still trying to figure out the best way to attack here. Capital has looked good in the first 11 minutes. They don't have anything to show for it, of course. But they've looked good to this point. Played up the far side of the field now. And Hart gets that pass. Avery Hart goes outside, now cuts inside. She might have a lane to shoot. She takes the shot, and it just misses the frame of the net over the right post crossbar area, the upper tee there. Upper L, I should say. And it results in the first shot of the game, but not the first shot on goal. Ball goes upfield now to the right sideline, and Mount Union will try to find some space there. Kicked upfield, Markham able to stop that run on a long pass to McLean. Woodruff at midfield. Coming back to the ball is Estes, and Estes will win possession back for Capital, plays it back to Haley Moore, and we resume play. English up the near side hash. And that gets through, got through the first body, and then the right foot of Lauren Francisconi is able to keep it in front of this Purple Raider attack, or defense, I should say. That'll be kicked out of bounds by Mount Union. Capital's got the pressure going right now, but unfortunately they haven't really done anything with it outside of the shot from Avery Hart. Markham. Leonetti up the far end of the field. Estes is called for a foul. Contesting hard up there on the top of your screen. And Mount Union will try to find a hole in this Capital defense. They haven't been able to find anything. They got it on the foot of Madison Pepper, but immediately turned away by Moore. And Moore gets it upfield. Cap trying to change fields down to the near side, and it's intercepted. And now the pass out in front of Pepper is into a traffic of 3, and Alford will dive on top. On the far end of the field, Mount Union is starting to generate some pressure in the midfield here and able to keep the ball from being possessed deeper in their territory, as we saw in the first few minutes. They haven't turned anything into it offensively, as Alford dives on top of another one. We've said her name a bunch, but she hasn't had to make a big save or anything like that to this point. Alford getting ready to send it upfield. And now it'll bounce in front of Leonetti. And Leonetti headers it now to English. And those two combine nicely to get it to Avery Hart. Hart to Woodruff. Woodruff trying to control. She does. Now she pushes it out in front of her with a long dribble. Crosses. There's a man. It's Estes on the far side. Unable to control, however. Good defense from Mount Union. And now Woodruff has it. Woodruff on a give and go, wanted it back, didn't get it back from Lungano. Played back to Ogden, sent across now to Avery Hart, top of the box. She takes a shot, it's blocked. That's going to squeak down into the corner and be kicked out of bounds by Mount Union. So they hold nicely there. Some tense moments. Trying to reset up another cross here. Avery Hart tiptoes the end zone. That ball's still in play. This ball is still live. It comes all the way out of the box towards the sideline and kicked out of bounds again by Mount Union. 28-25 to play first half action still. Hart now on a cross, and it goes right off of the defender. And Capital will finally get a corner kick out of this. Woodruff swings it in off to the far post, headered, and into the back of the net. That looked to be Nicole Ogden to header it home. And that's exactly who it is, Nicole Ogden on the far post. And she'll put the Comets up 1-0. Excellent ball by Madeline Woodruff on the corner kick. Ogden has now scored in back-to-back games. And the Comets lead 1-0 in the 28th minute. Or I'm sorry, 22nd minute. Capital now has a 3-shot advantage in this one. Mount Union is yet to get on the scoreboard.
Scored by number 12, Nicole Ogden. Assisted by number 8, Madeline Woodruff.
So there you hear it, Ogden from Woodruff. And as I mentioned, Ogden now with goals in back-to-back games for the Comets, and she's starting to become a goal scorer here on the stat sheet in front of us. Ogden now has 2 on the season. She's the 7th Comet now to score multiple goals this season. For Madeline Woodruff, her 3rd assist. So she now has 3 goals and 3 assists, 9 points, second on the team there, only behind Avery Hart. Always nice to get that early goal. We mentioned Mount Union, one of the better offensive teams in the conference, so just in case they're able to get one past Alfred, you got the first one in there, and it takes a lot of the pressure off. And they'll be looking for more as well, obviously, now. They've had a lot of control of this game. Too far up the far end of the field there from Haley Moore. Lexi Snyder had to stop her run. Avery Hart takes it away, and Hart dribbles it towards the box. Nice stop and go move. Pass to the middle, and still trying to find a lane. It's too far behind Woodruff. Stepping up is Markham from all the way from the wing to get back into the play. Woodruff has it now in Markham's spot. Markham's playing way up. They'll switch spots again. Woodruff dribbles it in. Woodruff goes outside. She crosses, and it goes off of Mount Union on out of bounds. Markham throws it in and immediately kicked out of bounds. Mount Union now will have the throw in on the near sideline. Under 25 minutes to play in the first half. Kicked out of bounds. I think I said the 22nd minute for the goal. It's actually the 18th minute. Sorry for my math there, but an 18th minute goal from Nicole Ogden. Now a missile from Hart, Oh, man, that just curled to the left of the post. If that had the reverse spin on it, it probably would have hit the post and gone in. Excellent velocity on the shot there from Avery Hart. A reminder, our next home game for the men will be on October 18th. That's a Wednesday, 7 o'clock. That'll be against Marietta while the women are on the road facing off with the Pios. The men lost earlier today to Mount Union by a count of 3-1. Nice header by Snyder. Now Woodruff fighting for it. She has been very involved in this game, and Woodruff is called for the foul this time. This ball is shot in off of the head of Ogden, off of the head of Leonetti, and swirled towards the net. Alford had to punch it away. Alford does punch it away. And now it's dropped back for a deep shot that goes over the head of everybody there. $22.50 to play. And maybe a threatening moment, if you want to say that. Alford up the far end of the field. They're going to play it short. Coming down to this side now to English. English playing it over to Haley Moore. And Cap just slowly walking it up the field. Now Moore takes a chance. Tried to drill one through to Hart. That might make its way through. Hart had to come back to it, but effective enough. And Cap has possession on this end of the field. All the way back to the Capital defense again. They retreat. They've done a nice job getting possession. And now a ball that's out in front of Markham. She beat her mark, but the center back had to come over and kick that out of bounds. That's Francisoni. That's a name we've said a lot here. The senior 5'4" defender out of Olmsted Falls High School in Olmsted Falls, Ohio. Player that this team is very familiar with. She's been a defensive staple for this Mount Union team for several years. Logano crosses. A lot of traffic in front. It hit a body of a Mount Union player and now squirts towards the sideline at the high end of the screen. Moore and Snyder will work to repossess and get it back in. Leonetti. Pass goes in again to Hart. She controls it before it goes out of bounds. Trying to create a shooting lane and went for a pass instead that got knocked down and kicked out of bounds. Throw in, and Hart controls. Hart in the area of Leonetti and some other bodies. It's Ogden who comes away with it. Markham now. A good dribble with the left foot inside. Pass goes to Hart. Played back out to Ogden. Markham still involved. Goes back to Hart again. Hart tried to go outside, and I believe that is going to be a goal kick. It is. Mount Union finally able to get some possession of their own here, and the Purple Raiders start the rush up the sideline. Pepper is going to get this pass, and she gets taken down, and a whistle called. That's going to be a card. And that's a yellow card issued to Lexi Snyder. Free kick coming for Mount Union from just outside the box after Pepper picks up or draws the yellow card on Snyder, I should say. Free kick from Emily Beach over the net. So Cap is able to survive the shot that goes over the net there from Emily Beach, and they go out of that with just a yellow card on Lexi Snyder and no goal. Now Markham might have a run here on the near side after it's misplayed by number 27, Olivia McLean, and it goes out of bounds, and that might be a corner. It is. So Cap scored on one of these earlier, and they'll have another chance on their second corner kick now. Woodruff will wait it out here and now send it in towards the far post. And it's headed away by Mount Union. A lot of speed on that ball as it ricocheted all the way out to the 20 before it was touched again. Capital is able to regain possession, and they try it up the far end of the field again. Estes trying to run it down. Got the first touch on it to save it from the sideline and then kicked it through the end zone. Couple of subs coming on as Estes and Lungano come off. Two new strikers, Lizzie Elliott and Catherine Zagaro checking in. Leonetti will control for Capital. 16:15 to play. Goes back to Haley Moore at midfield. Leonetti and Woodruff all the way back to the defense again, and Abby English will try to set this up. Kicked out a line, trying to find one of the Mount Union players. That's a substitute, Madeline Boulis, who had checked in just recently. And way over her head. Now Cap with a through ball on the other end. No flags for offsides. This is an onside play. The shot, it's rolling, and it's in the net. Goal scored by Capital. And that's Catherine Zagaro with the goal for Capital, I believe. And she's the one who had checked in most recently there for Estes. And for Zagaro, I believe that's her second in as many games as well. I remember reading that, I believe she was one of the goal scorers, and she was. She was a goal scorer as well in the Muskingum game. So Ogden and Zagaro both finding the score column in back-to-back games now. And it's 2-0, Comets out in front. Well, one side brought the offense. We said this might be a high-scoring game. And sure enough,
Goal scored by number 28, Catherine Zugaro.
Zugaro finds the second. Walked forward here by Woodruff as Cap has more on their mind. English steps in front of that. English is way across midfield and plays it up to Hart. Hart sends it outside. Lizzie Elliott now with a chance. Elliott dribbles it in. Elliott crosses, and no one home. Avery Hart trying to find an opening herself now. Passes it back to Woodruff. Leonetti. Zugaro. Nice move inside by Zugaro. She lined up for a shot, and it got blocked before she was able to get much behind it. Now Mount Union on a counter, and they've got some momentum here. Played down to the near sideline. This is Elena Woodworth. Woodworth looking for help, and Markham kicks it out of bounds. Good defense from Markham. Another sub coming on. This time it's number 19, Kayla Turl, checking in. And a correction, I said earlier, Boulis had checked in. It was actually number 10, Jillian Pigeon, who had checked in at striker. Those are substitutions all from Mount Union. Abby English passes upfield now to Avery Hart. 12:50 to play, first half action, and it is still a 2-0 lead for the Comets. They're up against the number one offense in the OAC in Mount Union, and so far they've kept them to just 2 shots. One that was a result of a foul right outside of the box. That was basically a free kick from 20 yards away. You're going to take a shot on that. If you take that out of the equation, they've held them to just 1 shot. But even with that in the equation, 2 shots. Haley Moore up the far end of the field. Snyder to Zugaro. Zugaro now with a give and go from Woodruff. Zugaro's in the box. Zugaro has a chance at it and will slow play down, try to find some help behind. Drops it back to Woodruff. Too hard off of Woodruff's foot. She tried to control it, kicked too hard behind on the drop there, and as a result, it's cleared away by Mount Union out of bounds. Another sub coming on now. Molly Eubanks checks in. Eubanks will replace number 14, Lauren Bailey. 11 minutes to play until halftime. Mount Union to send in a free kick on the goal kick. It's kind of a weird, foggy haze over the lights here at Bernlohr. One of those cold fall nights, as it is now under 50 degrees here. .10:18 to play. Capital trying to find something on the far end of the field. Mount Union has had to play a lot of conservative style of play here, just kicking the ball out of bounds a lot, because Capital's attack has been really good in this game, and they've been able to convert that into 2 goals already on just 6 shots. 2 shots on goal and 2 goals. And normally you're not rewarded for this kind of play. You have to grind it out for more than 25 minutes to be able to break through like this. But they've been very fortunate to have 2 in the back of the net already, and they have been rewarded for what has been absolutely stellar offensive play here in this first half. And like I said, sometimes in this game you play it and you play hard like this for 70 minutes without a result. And some good regression in their favor here to get 2 goals already and still on the hunt for more. Elliott fighting hard here. And Mount Union again will have to be conservative. This time they play it back to their goalkeeper instead of kicking it out of bounds. Mount Union trying to show something offensively here. And on this possession, they get it across midfield, but Leonetti is able to make the stop. And Markham now working with Elliott to try to get this into a safer area. It's taken back now by Caruso. And Caruso centers, touches it to Addison Jones. We haven't said Madison Pepper's name and Andrea Decker's name a lot. The 2 have combined for 18 goals this season, 9 each. And they have been virtually erased to this point by Capital. Pepper is the one who drew the foul that led to one of the shots. But outside of that, she hasn't been involved, and Decker's name we haven't said at all. Hart has some space at midfield. And Avery Hart is just going to outrun the defense. Hart gets it into the box, takes the shot, and the save is made and bobbled and then made again in net by Michelle Hoffiger. Another sub for Mount Union as this one goes out of bounds. Megan Casta will check in the defense for Haley Caruso, defensive midfield. Actually, more on the outer back, it looks like. Just kind of shifted towards the defensive midfield at midfield right now, literally. And it looks like she is playing kind of a outer back role. 6:27 to play. First half, it's still 2-0. Goals from Zagaro and Ogden, both with Now multiple goals on the season and back-to-back games with a goal. Thrown in and immediately headed out of bounds. 6 minutes left. Maybe Cap can get one more here. Free kick on the far end, sent towards the front of the box. Leonetti tried to forward it on with a head and missed. And now it's cleared and swept away by Mount Union. They'll send it upfield. And no one home for the Purple Raiders. Mount Union's offense has been non-existent to this point. Kind of a shock, actually. This is probably the most complete half Capital has played, at least here at home, that we've seen. 2 goals, offensive effort, excellent effort offensively, and then defensively, we haven't had to look to the left much, and when we have, there hasn't been really anything threatening at all on the Mount Union side. And this team is humming along on all cylinders right now. And the favorites to win in the OAC, they play the advantage on here. They get the win against Otterbein. They play to a draw against Ohio Northern, exactly what they needed to do. And Alfred comes out of the net to take that cross away. Now this team is in position to win this conference, and they just have another challenge here today with Mount Union, and they have been up to the task, to say the least. For Zugaro, by the way, it was her 3rd goal of the season. I mentioned multiple goal scorer. She's now tied for 2nd on the team with Woodruff. Hart sends another shot on net. Hoffaker's there to make the save. You look at the rest of the schedule for Capital and the opponents they have to play. They still have to play Heidelberg, Marietta, Baldwin Wallace, and John Carroll. The best record of those teams is 3-2. So they've kind of gotten through the tougher part of the schedule. And this one here today is kind of that last test before it's kind of smooth sailing. You don't want to jinx anything, but they would be pretty much not a heavy favorite. Well, maybe a heavy favorite is the right word, but definitely favored to win the rest of their games after this one. And probably favored to win this one, obviously, coming into it was much more up in the air, but now with a 2-0 lead, definitely in full control. And like I said, you start to look at the rest of the schedule, and there's not a whole lot of outs there that they might have. The only hiccup, maybe 2, again, the tougher games are on the road potentially at John Carroll, at Mount Marietta, but ending with home against Heidelberg and Baldwin Wallace. I don't know. It sets up really nicely for them, I think. Got teams that are going to be fighting for maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th spot, trying to sort that out with a lot of those teams that are left. You're playing 5 through 8 basically in the standings for your last 4 games after going through 1 through 4 and the 2 bottom teams. So everything is setting up nicely for Capital. And they had a job to do tonight, and they've gotten an A+ so far here in the first half. 2 minutes left to play to close out a perfect half of soccer here. Couple of extra passes now and trying to get it to safety. Avery Hart makes a run, passes it out in front of Zagaro. It goes all the way outside. Markham's up there. Make that Elliott, excuse me, up there. Avery Hart will get back in to the top of the formation here. 1:05 to play. Throw in coming from Snyder. And a lot of traffic being packed in front of the box here.
Less than 1 minute remaining in the first half.
Here comes the throw in. Snyder drops it back to Ogden. And Ogden swings it to the far side of the field. No one home for Capital, but maybe just trying to get some pressure on that area of the field. English, Leonetti, and now cleared upfield by Mount Union. 30 seconds left. Alford will come out of the net to try to make something happen now. Alford moves it upfield. They try to send one past the defense to Hart. It gets cut down. One little brief counter here from Mount Union. 14 seconds left. English will header it away. Just need one kick to safety here. Moore miskicked it. And Mount Union tries to send one towards the front of the box. Another header from English, and time kind of helps Capital there. Not that anything would have resulted from that last push, but some sustained pressure in their zone. It's kicked away, though, and then headed by English to end a perfectly executed first half here at Bernlohr. 2-0 Capital in front. We'll be back with second half action in 15 minutes. Stay with us. Yeah, welcome back to Primwort Field here at Bernlohr Stadium. 2-0 lead for the Comets over the Purple Raiders. Jimmy Bloomfield here with you. Thanks again for tuning in as always. Whistle blows and we will start play here in the second half. Mount Union will start with possession. They were outshot 8-2 as part of the first half drubbing that Capital delivered. And Capital coming out with that same energy, already has a steal early on. Pass goes to Avery Hart to the high side of the field. Hart crosses. On the weak side, Ogden's there, unmarked. Ogden takes the shot, and it pitches it in! Not even 30 seconds into the second half, and the onslaught continues. Nicole Ogden with the brace, and it's 3-0 Comets. Avery Hart on the pass to to Ogden, and Ogden sends it in. Wow, what a start to the half. Mount Union had the kick, remember, to start the half, too. And it was stolen, taken away, and Nicole Ogden on the assist from Avery Hart.
Number 12, Nicole Ogden, assisted by number 15, Avery Hart.
So Hart gets credit for the assist indeed. Third goal of the season for Nicole Ogden, and all of a sudden she's pulled into a three-way tie for second most goals on the team. Entered the week with 0 and has 3 in the last 2 games, and probably your favorite for OAC Player of the Week right now. Ball goes out of bounds, throw in, awarded to Mount Union. Avery Hart will drop it back to English. English all the way back to Alford now. A lot of offense in this first half, and the first part of the second half, I guess we can include in there. But worth noting that the defense has been spectacular as well. Again, they've only allowed 2 shots. One was a result of a foul. And outside of that, Alford hasn't even had to make a save yet to this point. And that's now 5 halves to start her OAC career without allowing a goal. So very impressive stuff from Liv Alford, who's already number 1 in the conference in save percentage and is number 2 in goals against average right now. But that is continuing to go down with each minute that passes on the clock. Capital clearly making a statement in this game, leading 3-0. And the high-powered Mount Union offense has not been able to do a thing. Cap will reset up for another push here. Ogden off of her foot and taken away by the Purple Raiders. Decker, the first time we've said her name. Playing it forward, she's looking for a run on the near side. She's going to have nothing here. Haley Moore passes it to English. The soccer season's weird in that the weather is a big factor later in the season. And this is one of those cold fall nights where you've got some games here at Bernlohr. You go from playing in 90-degree heat and taking hydration breaks in the first few games of the season to a cold, bitter night like tonight. Maybe Cap likes the cold more because they've been scoring more goals of late. We haven't even gotten to one of those sloppy, wet, rainy games, fortunately, here in the fall. Snyder puts it out in front of Avery Hart. Hart trying to cross inside. She wasn't able to. And the ball is kicked out of bounds. So another throw-in coming for Capital. Lexi Snyder will throw it in on the near sideline. Nice to see her back in the lineup. She missed the game last week against Wilmington. Estes takes a shot that gets blocked. That would have been another goal. Nice pass from Hart, who, by the way, now has 5 assists this season. She started the season with 5 goals and no assists, and now is starting to set up her teammates. Moore to Snyder. Some side spin on that one, trying to get it in the direction of Hart, and again, it's kicked out of bounds by Mount Union. Up the far sideline, across, and this time Hoffaker is there to make the save. On the cross, we'll see if that's credited as a shot or just a pass there. Woodruff is called for the foul at midfield, or draws the foul at midfield, sorry. Snyder will have a free kick for Capital. Another foul will give Capital even better possession now on the free kick. This one will be taken by Woodruff from just outside the 20, it looks like. So about 30 yards away. At an angle as well, so they might try to kind of turn this into a corner kick. Looks like that's the plan. Woodruff crosses it. That's a good spot, looking for someone. It's down on the turf, and Woodruff will clean it up again. That ball was laying on the turf 2 yards out in front of the goal, and that would have been an easy tap-in if anyone was home there. Excellent ball again from Woodruff on the set piece. It goes to Snyder now. Snyder with a hesitation move, crosses, takes the shot, and it rips off of the field goal upright. Lexi has a strong leg, and she showed it off there. And almost curls it into the net. Well, we can check on some other scores in the OAC while we have a moment in the action, brief pause in the action, I should say. Goal kick is sent upfield by Hoffaker. Ohio Northern was in action earlier today against John Carroll, who we mentioned is one of those teams that Cap still has on the schedule. Well, Ohio Northern just beat them up 5-0 final score. So John Carroll entered the week undefeated, and a loss to Baldwin Wallace 4-1 and a loss to Ohio Northern 5-0. So they were outscored 9-1 this week and now sit at 3-2. Otterbein had a tough time with Heidelberg. Kind of a surprising result there. 1-0 win for Otterbein. A goal in the 60th minute was all that they were able to manage against the Berg. Estes, keeping this play alive, almost stole it in the box. And instead, Mount Union keeps it in play on the sideline. That was out of bounds, it looked like, but they say play on. Ogden drives into the box for the hat trick off of the crossbar. Avery Hart keeps the play alive. So that's close to a hat trick for Nicole Ogden. There's 2 other games in action right now. Muskingum and Baldwin Wallace are locked into a scoreless tie. And Marietta is losing 3-0 to Wilmington. So those 5 through 8 teams that we mentioned on Capital's schedule are all not looking great Baldwin Wallace is tied with Muskingum. Marietta is getting a 3-0 or losing 3-0 to Wilmington. And John Carroll, we mentioned their struggles. Heidelberg would be the last team on the schedule for Cap that we haven't discussed, and they lost today 1-0. Pretty good result for them, losing by just 1 at Otterbein, but a loss nonetheless. Cap plays like this, they can beat any team in the conference, frankly. A shot at net again. Hoffaker uses the crossbar for help, and diving in is Estes. Another goal for Capital. What an effort by Grace Estes. Ball was sent in originally, and it hit off of the crossbar, off of the hands of Hoffaker. It somehow stayed in the field of play outside of the back of the net, and then just crashing the net and making something happen. I believe that was Estes.
Capital goal scored by number 29, Grace Estes.
There's my confirmation that I needed. Estes with the goal for Cap. And it's 4-0. Ball in front of the net here for Alford, and she's able to make the save on it. So yet another goal by Capital. This time it's Grace Estes. And I didn't have this one being a 4-0 lead at any point. Capital has now matched their high total of goals for a single game this season. They've done it twice now. 3 times, I should say. 4-1 against Mount St. Joe's, 4-0 against Muskingum. Both of those games were wins. And now they've scored 4 for the 3rd time this season. A shot to Alford, who knocked it down and then fell on top of it. Molly Eubanks with the non-threatening attempt from about 30 yards out to put something on the net. And Cap has now scored 8 in a row in their last 2 games. 4-0, 4-0. Another ball sent in towards Alford. She'll win the foot race here. Madison Pepper trying to get a touch on that one, but was not able to. Free kick now awarded to the Purple Raiders. That's the 3rd goal of the season for Grace Estes. So Estes, Woodruff, Zagaro, all with 3 on the season now. And Ogden. Estes, Woodruff, Zagaro, and Ogden all have 3 goals. And all of a sudden, Capital has gone from 2 players with 3+ goals to now 3, all in one game. Or all in, I'm sorry, 3 have been added to the list here in this game. So now 5 players have scored at least 3 goals this season for Capital. They started the night with 2. So a very successful game for the periphery scoring. And now this offense looks really high-powered when you have 5 3-goal scorers. And Avery Hart leading the way with 6 still. 14-3 shot advantage for the Comets. This one swung into the box, down on the turf, and cleared away. A decent ball there from Lexi. And now a shot that goes wide. So make it 15-3 on the shots advantage. The yellow card picked up by Lexi Snyder earlier, just the 3rd yellow card of the season, by the way. They've been pretty disciplined. A yellow card was picked up against Wittenberg by Nicole Ogden, and a yellow card picked up in the Ohio Northern game by Sophia Leonetti. Outside of that, just the one from Snyder, and that's it for the entire season. So that's good to see. Don't want to lose players to having to sit out for picking up too many yellows, and that is not a concern at all for Capital. 31 minutes and some change left in this one. And another free kick coming. This time it's Markham. A lot of players stacked up in the box. Markham sends one in from 50 yards away. Header towards the net and unable to get a second touch. Hafeker makes the save. Well, this is not the night Michelle Hafeker was dreaming of. Coming into this one, the freshman gets the nod. This is her 4th start of the season. She's played in 6 games. She has a 2.2 goals against average. Her record on the season, though, was 3-0-1 coming into this one. And Riley Oldfield, the sophomore on the roster, has played the other 621 minutes in net. She has a 1.59 GAA with 26 saves. But they went with Hafeker, and this is her first start since September 17th. She also played against Marietta for 56 minutes in that game. And don't know if there was an injury to Oldfield or what happened, but she was taken out in the 34th minute, a few minutes after Marietta had scored. And ever since that moment, it's been Hafeker in net. She allowed a goal in that game against Marietta, but Madison Pepper's 78th minute goal was enough to get Mount Union the win on Wednesday night. Hafeker gets the nod again now tonight. And you wonder if there's something going on with Oldfield physically that she's not able to make these starts. It's just weird that you'd make a change at that point of the season after Hafeker hasn't played in about a month. September 17th, again, was her last start before tonight, and has been thrust into action, has not gotten the job done. Capital's also just been really good in this game, and I don't know how much of that is the fault of Mount Union's defense, but the Capital offense is just firing on all cylinders right now. And they might have just won another corner. Nope, they did get the corner call there. Good work on the outside by Lungano. So Woodruff will send in another corner now. 3rd corner of the game. The first one resulted in the Ogden goal, and the second one was another good ball that was headed away off of the far post. She's kind of been putting it right inside that inner box on the far post. This one stays to the front of the cage, and a header to put it right down on the turf on that 8-yard box, and then it's sent away by the sweepers in front of the net. Ball's kicked out of bounds by Mount Union. That is a sentence I've said a lot today, the ball kicked out of bounds by Mount Union, because they are just relentlessly giving this Mount Union Purple Raider defense problems, and they've had to just kind of conservatively kick it out of bounds and try to reset their defense, and it just hasn't worked. English puts it towards the box. Estes does not get there first. I thought Estes got the kick there, but it was actually covered up nicely by Hafeker. Almost a brace for Grace. Estes now gets the steal and puts it right on the foot of her teammate Lexi Snyder. Snyder goes outside to Lungano, fakes the shot. Now Lungano possesses into the box, dribbles in, pass off to Avery Hart. Avery Hart now spins, takes the shot. That might have hit off of Mount Union. It did. So the shot was blocked out of bounds, and another corner kick coming. Under 28 minutes to play. A game that is well in hand, to say the least, but at the same time, this is it's kind of crazy to see how many they could score in this game. This is a really good Mount Union team coming in at 3-1, and one of the top teams in the conference in terms of record, at least, and statistically having 2 goal scorers with at least 9. I don't care who you're playing. That's impressive when you have teammates at 9 goals each. And they've come in tonight. They're getting outshot now 19-3. Mount Union trying to mount some counter pressure now. Decker, that had some weird spin on it. Spun away from the intended target there. Olivia McLean. Pass upfield now up the far sideline. And Cap has it back in their possession. Leonetti plays it to the near side. Estes trying to turn and go. And good defense instead. Godfrey makes the stop on that. Woodruff takes the shot, and she sends it over the net. Pelletier will check in now for Capital. And she will replace Lungano. Oh, I like this. They put Snyder up top now in the formation, and Pelletier will play as an outer back opposite of Markham. Decker has it now for Mount Union. She's one of those 9-goal scorers. She fakes the shot, takes a shot, and sends it wide. Well, she's been involved now. We've said her name a few times at least. Substitution for Mount Union, Elena Woodworth checking back in. Ball goes out of bounds. Couple of subs getting ready to check in for Capital. That looks like the strikers that came in last time. It is. So they're going to give Avery Hart a breather. Well earned. Lizzie Elliott, Lexi Snyder, and Catherine Zigaro are now the 3 strikers. Pass goes outside to Elliott. Elliott. That's going to be a corner kick. Woodruff will take it. This one sent to the front of the box. Hoffaker tried to punch it away. Kind of whiffed at it. I think she got a piece of it, but not a lot of it. And now Decker gets the steal from Mount Union. And she's trying to outrun 3 players while dribbling the ball and has 2 players in front of her from Capital. And Markham wins the foot race. And now it's steered away by Capital defensively. Abby English will escort that one towards the fence. Capital ends up playing it all the way back to their goalkeeper. And Liv Alford now sends it upfield. Tried to bounce that one through to Ogden. Ogden will get it with help of Pelletier, and they will try to bring that one back. I meant Hoffaker making that kick there, not Alford, excuse me, from Mount Union. And Capital's defense goes back to work, and they've been doing a nice job of sending some long through balls and getting possession downfield. Not so much this time, but Capital is still fighting for it. Elliott involved in the play here. Pelletier behind her. And it goes all the way back down to Haley Moore again. Moore will play it back to Alford. Capital controlling again with their defense here at the high end of your screen. 20 minutes and 25 seconds left in this game. Capital has this one well in control. 20 to 4 in terms of shots, 9 to 1 in terms of shots on goal in this game. In the midfield again, Leonetti taken down, no foul. Controlled again by Mountain Union, and now Leonetti pokes it free again. Leonetti, Woodruff have been really good in that midfield, and Ogden has 2 goals. So, I mean, it's hard to find any hole in the game today from Capital. They have executed a perfect game plan. And they're even able to get Avery Hart some rest on a Saturday night against Mount Union. Who would have thought? Snyder plays it outside to Elliott. Snyder getting some minutes up top, which they might need. A shot from Snyder is saved. Pretty good positioning on the shot from Snyder, about 20 yards away. Hafeker makes the save. She has made 6 saves now. But that obviously has conceded 4 as well. Mount Union trying to get some pressure now at the top of the screen. Crossed and knocked down by Moore and sent away. Actually, that is Moore. Couldn't tell if that was Moore. It was English, actually. Sorry. I was trying to distinguish between the two. Alford will catch that one out of the air and probably get credit for a save. Should be her second. Lexi Snyder running in circles around this Mount Union defense. Now put it in front of Elliott, who goes down. No foul called. Now Snyder's tripped. That's going to get a whistle. That should probably be a card. And it looks like the official is reaching for the pocket and will give the card to Logan Godfrey. Now we're tending to the injured party here. And that's from the first collision. Lizzie Elliott is down. I mentioned this team just starting to get healthy, too. couple of subs come on for Capital. Those were already planned before the injury to Elliott. Torrey Cottrell was one of them who's still waiting to come onto the field. Elliott was replaced. Avery Hart checked back in for Elliott. So it's interesting you see a player go down with injury and Avery is back in there. Free kick coming after Snyder got tripped up. And Woodruff will take the free kick from the sideline here. You can see the wall setting up in front of her and the official there. And I'm sure Woodruff will place this one in front of the net, kind of angling it towards the far post. It's exactly what she does. Perfect ball. It bounces through, and it's going to be a corner kick. Nope, they're going to change that to a goal kick. The Capital was setting up for the corner. Cottrell checks in now with the stoppage, and she's going to replace Leonetti, who also gets a well-earned break. Leonetti's just been so solid for this team. Still just a junior, which is nice to have her for one more year. Up the far end of the field, headed by Woodruff. $16:20 to go. Ogden passes it up to Cottrell. And she sends the ball off of the body of the defender there. That looked like a promising pass towards the direction of Woodruff. And now a steal again, Avery Hart and Woodruff. Those two have just been on the same page all season. Nice give and go here. Hart takes the shot and simply throws it over the net. Just looked like she didn't get anything on it, and she put it over the net by 5 yards. She has a really strong leg. $14:42 to play, and Mount Union being outshot 22-5 now. Liv Alford has played 180 minutes coming into this one and another 75 now without giving up a goal in her OAC career. And the question now, and we'll get to that question in a second, is this ball is put out in front of the striker on the near side there, Lexi Snyder, and Hoffaker goes and gets it. Avery Hart now and Snyder get it back for Capital. The question, what does Capital do with the goalie situation? They had been rotating White, Alford, and now it's gone Alford. And both of them have been good this season. You think at some point you got to pick one, though, right? The question, kind of like your quarterback, I guess. Although less so, because a quarterback, you can have different. You're in control of every play as the quarterback. The goalkeeper, you're not always in the conversation. I don't think Alford or White would have probably performed any differently in this game. And maybe that goes into thinking of coach, but you have an experienced goalkeeper in White who's had a really good season. And you have a young freshman who's playing out of her mind right now. And you combine those two factors, and you still have 4 games left in conference play. Is it something where Capital chops it up, or do we see some continuity with Alfred now being the start of the rest of the season, or at least in the next game? And it'll be really interesting to see how Coach Ogden manages this situation, because there's a big tournament coming up in a few weeks, literally in 3 weeks. We'll be playing for an OAC championship if everything goes correctly here on this day. So it's not like you have a lot of time to make this decision about what you want to do. NCAAs are right around the corner after that. So it definitely begs the question as we look towards November, what's going to happen with the goalkeeper situation? And it's a good problem to have, but the adage in football, you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. And I don't think that's the situation here. I don't think you want to say you have no goalies if you have 2 goalies with how good both have been, but there's only one player that's allowed to play goalkeeper at one time. So someone's going to be upset. You have a senior and you have a freshman, and both are playing well. The freshman statistically playing better, but White also got you a win against Otterbein and a draw against Ohio Northern, your 2 toughest opponents and 2 opponents you'll see again. It'll be interesting to see who gets that call. Pass goes into the box, and just as we're talking about how Alfred has been perfect here in conference play, the ball is in the back of the net. And another layer to the conversation now as Addison Jones, the freshman on the other side, scores. Well, that definitely makes it interesting now. Does it really change anything in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. And that was a really high percentage shot there by Jones. Emily Beach gets the assist. Defense completely out of position there for Capital, and it leads to a goal. But now that Alfred's conceded one, you can no longer say she's had 3 shutouts to start her OAC career.
Scored by number 25, Addison Jones.
And I mean, is it enough of a reason to go back to White, or does it not make up any difference? Who knows? But just kind of funny timing as we're talking about this situation with the goalies. One is conceded, and not necessarily her fault, but one conceded nonetheless. Corner kick coming for the Comets now. Oh, no. They're going to say that's kicked out of bounds by Hart. I think she was trying to get it off of the defender there. For Mount Union, at least some positive momentum. They won't be shut out in this game. And Addison Jones gives them another goal scorer in the column here. We haven't really had anything from Decker or Pepper. Madison Pepper has been on the field for only 39 minutes today and was taken off the field. Didn't really play much in the second half at all. Another ball bouncing through the box here. Let's get out of it. Alfred is just going to jump on it herself. I got to get that ball out of the box quicker there. Getting a little bit sloppy here in the final 10 minutes. We've been praising him, I guess, too much. And opposite of Pepper is Decker. Decker's played 73 minutes in this game. She's registered 1 shot. That's it. So the 2-headed monster combined for 1 shot in 100 minutes. Nice header here by Avery Hart, and she got tripped up from behind a little bit there. The ball got knocked away from her. Looked like she was going to have a free run at the goal. Avery's been so close to finding one here at home. But we haven't seen her score one here at home in a while. Mount Union, again, has been able to get a little bit more positive movement in this side of the field over the last 12 minutes of the game. We're now in the final 9 minutes. And they're setting up for another chance. In front of Alford, they're going to call offsides. Late whistle, always a painful one. Looking up Avery Hart, she had 2 goals against Case, 2 goals against Mount St. Joe's, 1 against Otterbein, and 1 against Muskingum. Which means she hasn't scored a goal here at home this season, which is kind of a weird trend. Again, 2 in the first 2 games. And then 1 against Otterbein on October 1st, and she scored on Wednesday night against Muskingum. She has 5 assists, several of those here at home, but she has not found the back of the net here at home. Alford comes sliding all the way across the field to to end that play. 8:15 to play now. Mount Union trying to keep the pressure on here. They're going to have to score 3 goals in 8 minutes. And while they've gotten some activity out of Alford, they haven't done anything to really threaten the outcome of this game, and maybe just trying to get some momentum going for the rest of their season. They'll fall to 3-2 in conference play, and that may sound like a pretty good spot to be in, but actually on the women's side of things, that is kind of middle of the road with how this conference is broken down. Capital with a win today will move to 13 points at 4-0-1. Closest to them will be Ohio Northern at 3-0-2 with 13 points. I'm sorry, that's 11 points. Like, something is not right there. 11 points for Ohio Northern. We mentioned 13 points for Capital. And then next in the standings would be Otterbein at 3-1-1 with 10 points. And then you've got John Carroll and Mount Union tied for 4th at 3-2 with the way the night will end. Marietta, I believe, is also winning, we mentioned earlier, against Wilmington. Let me confirm that that is still the case. Wilmington, I'm sorry, was winning that game 4-0. Wow, that's a big statement made by Wilmington, who hadn't won a game so far. So Marietta is going to fall to 2-3, and Baldwin Wallace is the team that is going to move to 3-2. So you have John Carroll, Mount Union, and Baldwin Wallace all at 3-2 after the night ends. So that's 4th through 6th place, all at 9 points. And then Marietta will be at 6 points, 3 points apiece for Heidelberg and Wilmington, and none for Muskingum. And that's how things sit halfway through. So it seems as though we have the 6 teams that will be involved. Slow to get up is Avery Hart. That's not something you want to see. She is okay, though. Oh, still limping. And Hart is just walking it off. I mentioned Elliott was hurt, and they replaced her with Avery Hart. And Hart stopping again to adjust the shin guards, now gingerly running upfield, and they're going to leave her out there. Hart, a multi-sport athlete, mentioned it several times on the lacrosse games that she was the leading goal scorer for the women's soccer team, and she was involved in the lacrosse program. She played in high school, and they needed a body, so they found her. And she played her first season, even though she was a junior this year. Senior this year, was a junior last year, obviously. Junior on the lacrosse team. So her 3rd year on campus, but her 1st year playing lacrosse as well. And worked her way into the starting rotation to a team that didn't lose until the NCAA tournament. One of the not one of the most successful women's lacrosse season in school history, and she was a part of that. Worked her way into the starting lineup and stayed there after starting the season on the bench and kind of rotating in. 4:12 to play. Haley Moore will be replaced. Get a few minutes of breather here. Replaced by Shelby Jackson. And Lexi Snyder comes out as well for the final 4 minutes. Abby Bergert also checking in there for Capital on the last substitution. So Shelby Jackson and Abby Bergert in, Snyder and Moore out. 4:08 to play. Clock will stop with those substitutions. This one's certainly in hand now for the Comets, but still 4 minutes to play out here. And some fresh bodies in there, maybe hungry to get a goal in their limited playing time that they get out there. Here's Ogden, who's still looking for the hat trick also. Woodruff, stop and go, back heel pass to Ogden. Now she fakes the shot. Still battling for it is Avery Hart now, and it goes away to Mount Union. 3:38 to play. No shutout longer to play for, as we jinxed that nicely while talking about this goalie situation. Mount Union has possession on this end. I guess doesn't really have possession. Sent it down to this end, I should say. And while it sorts itself out, Jackson comes away with it for Capital. Following up is Ogden, and nice blade of control by Mount Union. And number 6, Logan Godfrey, starting things up. Pelletier gets back for Capital and sends it out of bounds, so 2.5 minutes left. Up next for Capital, we mentioned on the road at Marietta on the 19th. That'll be a 7 o'clock start, and then they'll play at John Carroll as well. 7 o'clock start for both of those games. And the Marietta team that just lost 4-0 to Wilmington. Trap game, as some would say, I guess. Or maybe Wilmington just kind of getting some positive progression back on their side of things. And the Pios will be looking to avenge that loss. And then Heidelberg here at home on the 26th and Senior Day on the 29th. It's Wednesday and Saturday, 2 weeks from tonight for senior night here at Permort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. And the seniors on the roster this season, Aaliyah Berletic, Mia Gambasini. We haven't seen basically either of them all season. Hopefully at least Berletic might be able to get ready to play by then. Lauren White in net, and again, that's another layer. She'll probably get the start on senior night, I would think. So maybe she does get some starts before then. You don't want to just throw her in the cold on senior night in a game that Capital might need to win the conference. And the other senior, of course, Madeline Woodruff and Avery Hart. Those two have been here together and have been on the same page pretty much the entire time they've been here. So 5 seniors to honor, and at least 2 of them for sure will be in the lineup between Hart and Woodruff, and we'll see what the other 3 have in store on senior night. It'll be an interesting night. Corner kick here, and cleared out by Cottrell. Jackson now goes outside with it and contests that play. Swung in again, headered away by Capital. Abby English with the header there. 30 seconds left, trying to keep Alfred from allowing one more here or even facing a shot. And they clear it away to safety nicely. Capital's going to outshoot Mount Union in this one, 22-7. The 2 highest scoring teams in the OAC come in here. I think 5 goals was in the question, not out of the realm of possibility at least. But seeing a 4-1 game in favor of Capital is a bit of a surprise. But the Comets were the better team in this one. And all for about a lapse in defense for about 3 minutes there towards the end of the game when they were up 4-0. Pretty much a perfectly executed night here at Permort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. And Capital will keep the unbeaten streak alive in OAC play, and we'll see if they can keep it going again. They're on the road for the next 2 games, and we'll have the final 2 games here broadcasted for you on the 26th and the 29th, 2 weeks from tonight. Again, a reminder, is senior night here at Permort Field at Bernlohr Stadium, so please tune in for that one and honor our seniors, or make it down to the stadium if you can, even better there. 4-1 win for Capital. Nicole Ogden, probably the player of the week. She's scored 3 goals in her last 2 games now this week. Not a bad week for Ogden. Capital now has 5 players on the team with 3 goals, and the offense is continuing to hum along. Alfred picks up her 3rd career OAC win, 3-0 now. And we'll see what this team has on the road. A reminder, on Wednesday night, we'll be back for men's soccer action. Marietta in town, and Capital will host John Carroll this weekend as well on Saturday. So we hope to see you tuning in for the final few games here as both teams make their push for seeding in the OAC tournament. Capital men's team got some work to do, but can easily get into the conversation of the playoffs and are on the outside looking in, though, with 4 games left. And we'll see if they can make a run here to get into the postseason. Capital women's team chasing down a title as well. Should be an exciting few weeks here. We hope you join us for those. I'm Jimmy Bloomfield again. Thanks for tuning in tonight. A 4-1 victory for the Comets, and we'll catch you next time on Wednesday night when the men play host to Marietta. Have a great night, everybody, and like I said, we'll catch you next time.